7 questions for conservative voters? Sign me up. Let's see what this liberal wants to know and why conservatism is the only rational way to go. I came across this list of 7 questions aimed at conservative voters, and even though this is a little older list, it is still applicable today, and it asks some more general questions, not just gotchas, that I think show a genuine desire to learn, not just pick a fight, which is kind of unusual in the modern political landscape. So here go my answers to 7 questions for conservative voters, and why this liberal actually gets my respect for asking them. Question 1. How do you think Donald Trump is doing in office so far? And my answer is, I don't care. Now you have to remember that I didn't vote for Trump. I voted against Clinton. I never actually vote in support of any candidate because there's never really any candidates worth supporting. That said, on at least some fronts, he's done a pretty amazing job, especially with the absurd liberal Trump derangement syndrome going on. More than 3 million jobs have been created since he's been in office, and unemployment has dropped to 3.8%, the lowest since 2000. 67% of Americans believe that this is a good time to find a quality job, which is the only time and with the only president that this has been true since Gallup started asking this question 17 years ago. Consumer confidence in the economy has reached a 17-year high, and business optimism has reached record levels since Trump has been in office. He's wiped out a lot of harmful regulations that have plagued this nation, and he started to crack down on illegal immigration in sanctuary cities. Liberals, of course, won't like any of that, but fuck liberals, because the left are working their hardest to make him fail, no matter how good what he does is for the country, just because he's Trump. The left are children. Immature children. Question 2. What is attractive to you about being a conservative? It's the only system that we have that demonstrably works over the long term. It's the only system we know of that produces strong nations, stable societies, and growing economies. Of course, I'm also an atheist, so all the religious stupidity on the far right falls outside of my secular conservatism, but liberalism, especially fiscal liberalism, simply doesn't work. Liberal socialist societies are falling apart, even in the countries that the left holds up, like Scandinavia, whose countries can't maintain their high level of socialist programs, and they're having to cut back. It simply isn't economically possible to keep the gravy train rolling or the social experiment functioning. That's why the left eat their own. There is no utopia at the end of the regressive tunnel. There is only failure. It's like watching The Purge. No one comes out better than when they went in. Conservatism, though, is the opposite. Everyone thrives if they're willing to work. Why would I want to be anything else? Number 3. Would you ever vote for a Democrat? Well, not only would I have. You have to remember that I voted for Obama in his first election. Well, alright, not for Obama. I voted against the opposition for the same reasons I mentioned previously. There are no politicians actually worth supporting in America because American politics are inherently corrupting. I don't care how good your intentions might be going in. The only way to stay in is to become corrupt and play the political game. And that's nothing to be proud of. Question 4. What could you see liberals and conservatives compromising on? Today, nothing. But that's because we have become so absurdly politically segregated that the people on the left will vote against anything that the people on the right want to do, just because the right wants to do it, and vice versa. They're both guilty. There is no hope of compromise because compromise means not hating the other side and everything they do. Now, what would I like to see the left and the right compromise on? Everything. I want to see Congress actually doing their jobs and not trying to backstab the other side for ideological reasons. Their job isn't fighting their ideological enemies. It's doing what is best for the nation, even if they don't get their way all the time. But as I said, that's nigh impossible these days, which is why nothing worthwhile ever gets done. Question 5. What is your biggest critique of liberals? Well, I think they mean biggest criticism, so that's how I'm going to answer this. I think liberals, the entire liberal spectrum these days, relies far too heavily on the government to get anything at all done. They don't trust the American people. They don't even seem to like the American people, which is why the Democrats have spent decades outright lying to Americans for votes. It's why the black community, which I still think is an utterly absurd thing to even consider, is in such dire straits because the Democrats have spent 50 years telling them that they can't do anything for themselves, everyone is out to get them, and their only way out is through government subsidy in exchange for keeping the political left in power. How they don't see what's been happening, I really don't understand. Because the government doesn't actually solve anything. It is more often than not the problem. It is an impediment to progress, not the cause of it. And the left wants more of it, not less. Because the left doesn't want to be responsible for their own lives. They want Papa Government to take care of them cradle to grave, and the farther to the left you go, the worse it gets, until they just want everything for free. Guaranteed government checks and free stuff requiring no work or effort because feelings. It really makes progressives look religious, doesn't it? Number 6. What would be the main political agenda of your ideal conservative politician? Alright, I'll be honest here. My ideal candidate would never get elected because there are way too many people in this country that are allergic to hard work and responsibility. I would love someone who isn't religious, or at the very least, never talks about it, who doesn't play the God card constantly, which you need to do to get elected in this country, but who follows conservative economic principles and pushes for freedom and responsibility. Of course, none of that will ever happen because, as I said, you can't get elected without being a God botherer, or at the very least playing the part, and even the Republicans stopped being actual conservatives many years ago. They're just as corrupt as the Democrats, who are every bit as corrupt as every other party we have in this nation. The whole system is screwed up, and so long as lifetime politicians are the norm, it will never get better. So honestly, I have no hope. And finally, number 7, what does being a conservative mean to you? Responsibility, accountability. It is taking advantage of your opportunities to better yourself and those around you from the time that you're born to the time that you die. It means living without your hand out. It means being the best person that you can be, not only for yourself, but for your society. It means making good choices and dealing with the ramifications of those choices, no matter what they are. It means growing up and being an adult and living in an adult world. For far too many these days, that's simply not even on their radar. They don't even seem to understand the concept. It is so utterly foreign to them, the idea that you actually have to work and make good life decisions and be held accountable for those decisions. They can't even comprehend the idea. And that's pathetic. So, what did you think of my answers? Honestly, I really don't understand people who don't hold conservative views. Logically speaking, I don't know how you would justify anything else, at least on the economic side. Can you argue with the religious aspects? Absolutely, and I'm wholly on board with that. But as I've said in the past, conservatism is a political ideology, not a religious one. And people who insist on wrapping up every single one of their positions under the same umbrella, those people have something wrong with their head. But we see the same thing on the political left, don't we? People who just don't know how to compartmentalize. I get that part. I disagree with it, but I get it. Also, people who rely on feelings. Those people have problems. But try getting them to agree with that, yeah, that's just not going to happen. So many people seem incapable of pragmatism these days. It's just not emotionally comforting. It requires actual effort, and for far too many, that's a problem. They don't want to deal with the reality that they live in. They want a magical fantasy land with trees and flowers and chirping birds all the time. And reality, sorry to say, doesn't work that way. A mentally healthy person knows that. So what's wrong with people who can't figure it out? Anyway, let me know in the comments. Make sure you subscribe and all that. Hit that bell notification so YouTube doesn't hide new videos from you. And I'll catch you all next time. Take care.